Hey, shalom to the hopeful elect. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rechakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone who teach the truth and rule well. This is the brother Yutabia Wa'ala coming back from the GMS SF Bay Area camp. I got a quick lesson today. All right, Lord's will is edifying. But just going into false teachers and false prophets and understanding, as a hopeful elect, anybody who calls themselves believing in, the scriptures or wanting to learn, and wanting to be of the elect really, is really watching out for false teachers and false prophets. All right, because, this is a truth. All right, this is a fact of the truth, a fact of, you know, um, you know, just being here at this time, in a fact of prophecy that there will be false teachers and false prophets. So again, it's really imperative. All right, and brothers have been going in on lessons because there was that interaction that happened at Great Millstone Dallas camp where you had that individual who I guess he said he's from ISUPK, who really didn't know how to answer questions. Seemed like he didn't know what he was really got himself into, and really doesn't know what his teachers are teaching. All right, so it seemed. Okay, but again, it's a job of a hopeful elect, is to understand what's going on, understand the false from the true. All right, again, mentioned the elder mentioned, in that lesson going into the Church of Berea, being more noble because they looked into things. All right. And that's our job, is to look into things. Because again, the truth of the matter is there is false prophets. All right. There is false teachers that are leading the 2/3. All right. The majority of our nation astray. Now, let me just start with this. This is Matthew 24 and 11, straight to the point. End time prophecy. It says, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. So again, this is a fact of the matter. All right, now it's our job, okay, again, those of the hopeful elect, to look into these things, all right, to see what is being said. All right, what are the teachers saying? Those who call teachers, and do they match up, all right, with what's actually being said in the scriptures? All right, 1 John 4:1, what does it say? It says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are gone into the world. All right. And again, this is just the reality of things. All right. There is many false prophets. So you have to try the spirit. All right. You have to, again, match up what, these teachers are saying, whether they're true or false, and match them up with the scriptures. All right. The scriptures say, you could tell a tree by its fruit. What are the fruits of those teachers saying? The men under them. What is their overall mentality? What are they saying? What are they constantly going into? All right. What is the message that's being portrayed? Are they going into prophecy? Are they going into history? Are they talking about, different podcasts, different debates, getting money, prosperity? Okay. Are they letting the certain end time prophecies that are happening, the MOTB, all right, Jacob's trouble, World War III, are they letting you know that none of those things are going to happen? All right, that's why, again, it's so imperative to really try the Spirit by the Spirit. All right, it says, verse 2, hereby know ye that the Spirit of the Most High, every spirit that confesseth that Yahushai Hamashiach is come in the flesh is of the Most High. All right, yeah, Yahushai actually existed. All right, he actually had a Hebrew name. Well, he has a Hebrew name, Yahushai. It says right here, in the English, Jesus Christ, but we know, all right, through that Church of Berean spirit, which is to look into things, that can't be his name. All right, the letter J wasn't invented until the late 1500s. Okay, so that couldn't have been his name. We know Yahushai spoke Hebrew. All right, we know Jesus is at best a transliteration. Okay, so again, we know, all right, those who try the Spirit, that's one of the main things. They're gonna confessed that Yahushua existed in the flesh, and also what his name was, what he was about, what his testimony was, which tells you that in Revelation the 19th chapter. All right, the whole testimony of Yahushua is what? The spirit of prophecy. Okay, verse 3. And every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of the Most High, and this is that spirit of Antichrist or anti-Hamashiach, whereof you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. All right. Now again, there is many antichrists. All right. There's many false prophets. There's many false teachers. All right. And one of the main ones is Esau. Okay. He'll tell you that there's a big bang. There is no God. You know, the Bible is not real. There's a big bang. There's the evolutionary theory. All right. And many of our people have follow that. Okay. They follow that that bug out teaching, which the scriptures say, if any of our people be blinded, okay, that cannot accept this gospel, they're blinded by the God of this world. Roughly paraphrasing, all right, which, you know, is the God of this world being Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, but again, you know, this trickles down, all right, to our people, all right, those who even know that they're Israelites, okay, who are pushing a different message rather than what the scriptures say. Isaiah 8:20, it says, to the law and to the testimony, all right, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them, all right? And this is how you tell a false prophet from a true prophet, or a false teacher to a true teacher, okay? As if they're teaching according to the law and to the testimony, according to faith. All right, according to this word, which Yahushua encompasses the word, he is the word, and what? He is found in the volume of the book, the whole book, all right, the Bible, front to back, so to speak, the Old, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament, all right? You have some teachers that go strictly into the Old, strictly into the New, and you have teachers that just don't go into prophecy. You know, they might shove the law down your throat, but here it is, you know, they don't even follow the law. You know, they'll say they're perfect, but they're not following the law perfectly, but they leave out a key point, which is Yahushua, and which is faith. Okay? So again, we have to have that understanding that there is false teachers. Okay? Now, again, it is our job as the hopeful elect to look into these things and see whether what our teachers are saying are true or not. All right, and you know that again, you know, when you first come in this thing, that's the one of the main things you should be doing. All right, is when somebody makes a claim, all right, when a teacher teaches something, look into it. You know, that brings you up on a level as well, as when you are able to look into it and you're persuaded in your own mind. All right, when you have apostles talking about you know, grape and you know, what happened of old, you look those things up, yeah, you find them out to be true. All right, when you look into the MOTB, yeah, you find it out, it is the sea hip. All right, when the apostles are talking about a Jacob's trouble, you can see, you look into it, well, the scriptures say it first and foremost, but then you can also see by measuring the times that that's exactly where things are heading. All right, and ultimately, you know, the Spirit has to be dealing with you. The Lord has to give you the gift of faith, because again, a reality is too that the Lord doesn't want everybody to get the truth. All right. 2 Peter 2:1, it says, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destructions. And again, this is exactly what you see going on. You know, there's a lot of damnable heresies, you know, and especially those of the circumcision, those who know that they're Israelites. All right. And, you know, again, you know, that this is what's supposed to happen. All right. We're reading about it. This is actual prophecy. But again, you know, to be, you know, fully aware, all right, or to be knowledgeable of these things, you have to look into it. All right. You have to do that diligent search to see, again, what the teachers are saying. So you can measure up what they're saying and what the scriptures say, and you could say, no, that's a heresy. All right. No, that don't match up. All right. Or you can see what they're about. Hey, why are they so focused on gimmicks? Why are they so focused on selling certain things and getting money? How come they're not pushing prophecy? How come they're not pushing Yahushai? Why do they say Jesus? You know, just certain things, you know, when you look into it, they don't match up to what the truth is. All right. It says, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, which again goes into the majority of our people. It says, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Hey, that's the bum cans. Those, they're wicked. You know, that what they're saying is wicked. Oh, they're faith-based, you know, making it seem like it's a bad thing to be faith-based, you know. But nonetheless, this is what you have going on. The true men of the Lord are always evil spoken of. All right. It says, and through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgments now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. All right. These people just really set up to be destroyed. But what are they doing along the way? They're giving you smooth words. All right. They're giving you gimmicks. They're making merchandise of you. They're making you spend all your money. All right, to what? To further their pockets, which that's not what the truth is about. All right, that's what a lie is about. All right. It says, for if the Most High spareth not the angels that sin, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spare not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with the overflow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. All right. Which that's pretty much it on that. Now let me jump back over here. This is Luke 6:39. It says, and he spake a parable unto them. Can the blind lead the blind? Shall they both not fall into the ditch? And this is a parable going into these false teachers. All right. Those who are teaching these lies, and then also those who are following them, they're both going to fall into a ditch, which is again that destruction. All right. And it iterates that what King David said, which, you know, people not being able to get it, the majority of our people not being able to get it, that is by design. All right. That is set up because, again, the Lord is only dealing with a remnant. All right. Now, when you start up, this is Romans 11. Actually, let me start at verse 7. It says, what then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinding. Meaning, again, the Lord is only dealing with the election. All right, the elect. The whole nation of Israel is not going to get this truth. They're not going to be saved. They're not going to have faith. They're not going to believe on Yahushai in truth and sincerity. They're going to, a lot of our people, which the majority of our people, are going to go to these false teachers. Okay? But verse 8, and this is why it says, according as it is written, the Most High hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that should not see, which goes into those blind, all right, those blind leaders and the blind followers, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. So even unto this day you have those who cannot get it. And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. And again, this is the point. You have a curse really set upon the majority of our people to not understand what's going on. Okay? To not believe on Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And that's just how it goes. Okay? So being of the hopeful elect, all right, those who still have a chance, you want to know for sure and be really persuaded in your own mind that this is the truth. Okay? The teachers that you're following, you need to be persuaded that they are the actual teachers. And how do you do that? You measure it by way of the Spirit. All right? You measure it by way of what the scriptures say. All right? Titus 1:11. Let me start at verse 9. All right? It says, holding fast the faithful word as he had been taught. All right? Again, scriptures talk about being assured of the teachers that we've learned from, all right, and continuing it, because again, why have we been assured? Well, we've looked into these things, or you should have looked into these things. It says, holding fast the faithful word as he had been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. Sound. All right, there is no kinks in the doctrine. All right, there's nothing, whether it hurts your feelings or not, there is no kinks in the doctrine. Both to exhort and convince the gainsayers, for there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision. All right, again, false teachers, false prophets, those who know that they're Israelites. And this is the point, verse 11, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not for filthy lucre's sake. Which again, it's always involved in what? Money. It's always involved their own belly, their own desires in this world. You know, here it is, and which shows you they have no faith of what's to come. They don't believe in the gospel, because if they did, they'd understand that, you know, money is not even going to be a worry in the kingdom to come. Possessions, you know, wealth, that's no worry in the kingdom to come. And if you have faith, you understand you're going to get all that. But it again shows you and proves that these people do not really believe. But this is how they subvert whole houses. All right, it says, one of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said the Cretians are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. All right, which again, you know, what did we, jumping back to verse 11, it says their mouths must be stopped, and the Lord is going to stop their mouths. All right, hey, lest they repent, okay, and be of the elect, they're going to be destroyed. They're going to end up, you know, doing what they've been teaching and really what? Take the MOTB. Okay? They're going to trust in Esau because they haven't been pushing the truth. All right? And again, it's all to fulfill what? This prophecy right here. Zechariah 13:8. It says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, which is here in America, saith the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. All right, which is again a pie chart, 2 parts of that of the 3, which is the majority of the nation of Israel is going to be cut off and die here in America. But the 3rd shall be left therein, meaning the elect, which we read about that in the Romans the 11th chapter. The elect have obtained it. You know, they've obtained this truth, they've obtained faith, and ultimately they've obtained what? Salvation. Okay? It says, and I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai is my power. All right, the 3rd is going to go through that furnace of affliction. They're going to be refined. They're going to be perfected. All right, but again, the 2/3 are going to be cut off and die. They're not going to get it. The Lord has given them that spirit of slumber. All right, that spirit of deafness, all right, to where they can't get the truth, and they're going to follow and continue to follow the blind. All right, but again, you know, just a quick lesson, you know, going into, you know, really, you know, trying the spirit, you know, especially for, you know, anybody who's new in the faith, or, you know, really, you know, get into that Church of Berea spirit. All right, which actually, you know, let me get that real quick. I know it's been going around lately. But you know, it's a beautiful characteristic to have. All right, it's Acts 17:10. It says, and the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more noble. All right, noble. G2104 Eugenius. It says, well born of a noble family, noble minded. All right. Let's see what noble minded is. It says, having a characteristic of an honorable, upright, and superior mind. Yeah, hey, we're not to be simple. We're not to be slow in this thing. All right. We want to be noble. We want to have good morals, good characteristics. All right. And it's going into it. It says, these were more noble. So the Church of Berea were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. So, you know, they took Paul's sayings, or Paul and Silas sayings, and they looked these things up. All right, They looked it up to see whether these things were so. And what does that do? That puts you on a level, because again, that is able to be get you persuaded when you find it out for yourself. All right, verse 12. Therefore, many of them believed. All right, because it was the truth. You know, they tried the Spirit. They looked into the Scriptures. Hey, Paul wasn't going off. Paul and Silas weren't going off. They were going according to the Scriptures. So then what? They were convinced. Also of honorable women, which were Greeks, and of men, not a few. All right, but the point is what? They were noble. They looked into these things. And this is, again, what we're supposed to be doing, especially, too, if you're new into this thing, look into it. You know, look, see what, you know, your teachers are saying. You know, can you back it up? Can you go into the precepts? You know, can you go into the history? Can you go into prophecy? And is it true? All right. Are they trying to get money? Are they trying to give you a prosperity doctrine? You know, are they trying to have you establish something here? Or are they outright just denying the Bible? You know, denying the truth. You know. But yeah, you know, again, Lord's will, this is edifying. Once again, I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect and above all.